Check it out, this is Marco Polo, and right now you're listening to Nodfactor.com. Peace.
When did you start making beats officially?
I guess I got my MPC, the same one that I use now, in late 99, 2000.
Okay.
Yeah, I bought it with my student loan.
You bought it with what?
My student loan. I took out a student loan to go to an engineering school, like the same ones that are, it's the same school, different name. It's like the ones that, put you in the studio, get you a job after. So,
right.
I bought my first Mac and my first MPC 2000 XL with my student loan. So,
did you ever go back to school? You just got the MPC and dropped out?
No, I finished the program.
Okay.
I did it. Yeah, it was called the Harris Institute for the Arts in Toronto, and yeah, I finished it. So.
Okay. So when did you tell me about the Canadian hip-hop scene when you came up, and the sound and the production?
The hip-hop that I grew up listening to, of course we have like our Big Daddy Kane, or KRS One of Canada, who was Maestro Fresh West. That was like the first popular rapper in Canada that really like hit mainstream success. So he was definitely an influence on me. Then there was a crew called The Circle, which I think made the most noise in the U.S. that consisted of Cardinal, Socrates, Choclair, Solitaire, and they had production within the clique. They had Socrates, and then there was Mr. Attic, who's still producing, and a friend of mine now, part of a crew called The Grassroots. They did a lot of classic Canadian records. Then on the West Coast, there was a crew called The Rascals, and their producer Chemo was really dope. So those were all influences on me.
Oh, that's what's up. So it's clear that listening to your beats, the premiere was definitely. But how do you manage to kind of be in his chamber without copying him outright? Because there's a lot of Primo clones out there. But
yeah, those are the worst. There's nothing worse than a really bad Primo bite. I mean, there's nothing worse than a bite, period. But Primo ones are extra bad.
Right.
They're up there with Dilla bites. I guess it's just me at the end of the day. I kind of just take influence from the energy he has in his tracks, and yeah, I try and make everything hit as hard as possible. And I guess ultimately I don't stress too much about it, because at the end of the day, when I make a beat, it's still going to have my little touches that makes it different and not a blatant bite. You know what I'm saying? So, and I draw influence from a lot of people. Eric Sermon, he was a big influence on me. Large Professor, of course, Pete Rock, Bomb Squad, Marley Marl, I grew up on the East Coast, so that's the stuff that I really love. I got love for the West Coast too, but that's my shit. It's just the New York style of boom bap.
did you get it? Have you ever had a chance to sit in the studio with Primo and watch him work?
I've never seen him make a beat, but I've definitely been in the studio with him where he was mixing or just, playing tracks. But I've yet to have the privilege of watching him make a beat from scratch, so hopefully that'll happen soon.
Okay. Did he show you anything as far as mixing? Because I feel like that's so key to taking your sound from one level to the next. Two people can have the same drum kick, but in the final mix,
both
sound completely different.
Yeah, I guess that's one of the advantages I had from doing the engineering. Well, the school didn't really teach me anything. The school got me in the door at the studio called The Cutting Room. That's where my whole New York career started. I started interning at a studio called The Cutting Room.
Right, that's where Just Blaze got started.
And I had the exact same job that he had. So it was the same situation. Obviously, I didn't blow up on the level he did, but, I was just there. Started off as an intern, as a scrub, getting coffee, doing terrible things like cleaning bathrooms and shit for a couple months. And luckily it didn't last too long, and I got a paying job. And then I started, assistant engineering and doing a little bit of engineering, and then I was managing the studio. But I came up around some really talented mixed people like Joe Nardone and Dylan Marjoram, who were working there. And they were working on a lot of De La Soul and late raucous releases, like when Quali did his first solo album, Sound Bombing 3, really towards the end of raucous. So I got a chance to just, play the wallflower and just watch. And, Joe Nardone ended up mixing Port Authority, which actually garnered that whole full-page thing in Scratch Magazine about my studio, because people were so impressed, and they would come to my studio and be like, "This is where you record?" And I'd be like, "Yep." It's not how expensive your shit is. It's, what you do with it. So
exactly. Has that setup changed at all? Is it?
Absolutely not, sir. It's exactly the same. If you get a second, Google MTV, Marco Polo MTV Cribs. We did a mock-up of basically my whole studio setup, and it shows, exactly what I do. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that's what's up.
Yeah, because I do all my recording and production here, but I get it mixed somewhere else. So
Marco Polo MTV Cribs.
If you look at on YouTube, you can find it.
Double Barrel Tuesday, Part 5. Okay. Alpha Beat Productions. Is that the name of your production company?
No, that's the kid over at Duck Down that does all the editing of the videos. Me and Tori just got, one day we just started filming a bunch of stuff and we sent it to him, and then he just edited it and turned it into a mock MTV Cribs episode.
Nice.
It's actually half not bad, so I go through some of my record collection and my setup and yada yada.
Yeah, I'm looking at the record collection, man. How long have you been putting that together?
Since I started, my collection is real humble and small, just because of, New York apartments having so much space, so I gotta be kind of choosy. I can't just go buy full collections, and plus I'm on the 5th floor of a walk-up with no elevator, which is the worst thing ever, so, I'm kind of choosy of how much records I bring and keep here, so, my collection, it's been in the works since, 2000, but, it's not like, I don't have a separate storage space like Diamond D and Buck Wild do, so.
What's your most prized piece of vinyl? The one piece that you're like, wow, I really can never, ever let this go.
I mean, you know what? My favorite record to own, it's not even it's kind of rare, but it's the ESG album with UFO on it, just because it means a lot to me, because I love their music, and I love that song, and I've sampled it forever, and, it was the first record that I think I spent more than, it was like $45, because I will not go and spend $100 on a record, you know what I'm saying? If one day I'm financially able to do that, maybe, but I try and keep things pretty reasonable. Living the indie hip-hop lifestyle, so I can't go too crazy,
So talk a little bit about Port Authority and the making of that album.
That was definitely a journey. That was a really exciting time. I mean, the first songs that I recorded for that album, the album wasn't even in mind at that point. It was just me really hustling and working. And I did a track for Master Ace, A Long Hot Summer, and he had no budget.
Yeah, I know that one.
He had no budget left, so he was like, listen, I want to use the beat, but, I can't pay you. We can do a trade. That was when I was trying to get on, so I'm like, whatever, man, use the beat and do a song for me. And then he ended up recording Nostalgia, which ended up being one of the singles. It has 1 million views for the video on YouTube, and it took extreme, underground success, and that sparked the idea of doing an album, and I just kept hustling my beats to different people, like Large Pro and Boot Camp, Ed O.G., and Juju and Cardinal, and before you knew it, I had, a gang of songs, and me and my man Shiloh, who is like my right-hand man, we just kind of put it all together, and, I was like, man, let me do, my version of Soul Survivor, minus the rapping.
No aspirations?
No, sir. No, sir. I mean, if I had an ill voice or knew what I was doing, possibly, but yeah, none of those things, God gave me the talents to make beats, and that's about it, so.
Just think you could do it, man. What did you use to play that bass line? Was that filtered, or was that you just play that? Because that was one of my favorite parts of that beat.
Thank you very much. I hate the mix on that song, by the way. I would love to email you the raw beat before it got mixed.
Who messed it up?
Oh, man, I don't want to, I don't even want to say his name because he's like a brother to me, but it's not even that it's a bad mix, it's just that, I'm really attached to how my music sounds, so I like to try and stay involved, so. Right. But that bass, that was just one bass note spanned on the MPC on the 16 levels, and I played it out,
Okay. So. That's what's up. Yeah, when I interviewed Pete, he's the same way. When he said, when he sends beats out, he's like, don't touch anything. I tell the engineer, I EQ it just the way it is. Leave it alone.
Yep.
And he said sometimes he sends a 2-track just so they can't mess with it,
I wish I could do that sometimes, so. But, I'm getting, now that I have a bit more, respect from some of the artists, they allow me to be more involved, and, I'm at the point now where I have to be, because I don't want my shit to I don't want to sound whack. I don't want to be the whack part of the song, so.
Speaking of parts of songs, you definitely kept true to the art of vocal cutting, vocal scratching, and I wondered, how do you decide what phrases you're going to put in a hook on a Go Find? Right. How does it work?
I mean, I can't even take credit for all that, because I have a crew of DJs that do all my scratching. We obviously are on the same page, and when we record a song and we need a scratch hook, we obviously listen to the content of the song and try and find lines. If I can come up with a couple of them to give the DJ a head start, then I'll do that. But for most of the time, it's DJ Lynx, who did most of the cuts on Port Authority, and Revolution, who's the best DJ in the world. That's my brother, and I'm blessed that he works with me and he did a lot of cuts. So with those guys, they're professionals, so they know what they got to do. And so they know it's possible they'll send something and I'll be like, you know what, take that line out and try and find something else. But it's just really, it's simple. It's simple. You just gotta listen to the track, and sometimes I hear scratch hooks and I'm like, what were you thinking? And it's just all about listening to the content and picking the right energy, because it's like its own verse, you know what I'm saying? So you gotta treat it as so. And one thing with Revolution with scratch hooks is their verses. He makes the cuts rhyme with each other. It's on another level. So
yeah, the stuff he did on King of the Decks was incredible. Oh my God.
Yeah, I call him a robot from the future. That's what I call him. Nodfactor.com.